Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and today I'm reviewing Resurgence from Stan Kodonsky, and Stan's actually a very notable designer who's done a whole bunch of game designs with a variety of companies, and Resurgence is the first time that he's bringing a game to the table under his own publishing house, under his own name. And Resurgence, to be very clear, prototype, all that, usual disclaimer, rules, art components, all that stuff subject to change, and link to the Kickstarter in the description down below. But Resurgence has a bunch of mechanisms working together in different ways. Resurgence is worker placement, it's got bag building, it's got hidden placement, it's got tableau building, a whole bunch of things working together at the same time in a way that I've never really seen mechanics combined, which is actually very typical for Stan. He tends to tackle game design with no two of his games really ever feeling alike, and Resurgence is no exception to that rule. The turn structure on Resurgence is very handily spelled out on this player aid. This player aid covers everything you need to know from sections 1, 2, 3, 4, with their own individual breakdowns of how those sections work. And the first thing you'll do every turn is you'll reveal the event for that round. Then you'll follow that up with drawing a variable number of tokens in the bag depending on how high your base is. Your base has 4 levels, and depending on those levels, you can draw 4, 5, or 6 tokens from the bag. I know I said 4 levels and 4, 5, or 6. That's because levels 2 and 3 both give you the same number of draws. You'll go ahead, you'll reach into your bag, and you'll start drawing tokens. So I'll go ahead and I'll draw, let's say, 4 tokens in the bag, because I'm at level 1. We'll draw 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, this is all being done behind your player screen, so no one knows what's going on, and that's very important, because behind my screen, what I'm going to do, you can go ahead and watch on the top camera over there, I'm going to grab those tokens and I will assign them to these various 3 zones. So let's go ahead and put this one down over, I don't want to put that there, let's put this one down over here, this one down over here, and this one down here, and that one down there. Great. Ready? We'll go ahead and reveal. Now, this is all spelled out perfectly on the player aid. This is one of the better player aids I've seen, doubling as your player screen to prevent people seeing what's happening. Because that hidden placement is very important because it will affect this track up here. There's a lot of interlinking parts in Resurgence. We're only just getting started. So, this area is going to define both where your workers can be placed. Red zones can go to these metro areas, these harbor areas can be over here along the river, and this is your own individual base, which is your own separate sector that only you can go to. For the sake of table space, I'm only showing you my base. Imagine all the other players' bases as well. So, we have these tokens, these are our workers, and they are custom. You're going to have your basic grunts, you'll have your leader, and then you'll have your specialist. That little tier down is shown over there. But first things first, we'll go ahead and compare our strengths against the other players and possibly get bonuses on those leadership tracks. So for example, again, I'm only showing you my base, but let's say over here I have a strength 2 because I have a specialist. Let's say some other player has strength 3, so I get nothing. Over here, I have strength 5. I have a leader, which is 3, and a specialist, which is 2. It's a total strength of 5. Compared to everyone else, let's pretend I have the most. So I'll actually go up 2 on that track, because if you have, and this is all shown in the player aid, if you have at least shown over here, if you have at least 4 strength and the most, you move up 2 on that track. So I'll go ahead and move pink 2 up on this track, which will both give me in-game bonuses, those little icons over there, as well as points at the end of the game. Once you've resolved all 3 leadership tracks over there, you'll then move to actually placing out your workers, where you'll go ahead and start putting your workers onto the board, and let's say that I go ahead and put my worker, let's put this guy over here on that spot to get 3 food. Each of these zones is fairly basic. They're giving you a variety of resources. You'll have your gears, your food, and your oil. Those are the 3 basic resources in the game. You can also go to these 2 spots to get a mission. That little walking symbol is one of these missions over here. That's one of the primary ways you'll get points in the game. It'll also give you bullets and or health, which is one of your advanced resources, and how you'll be building out your base. From there, the other zones to be aware of is where you can recruit workers. That's going to be these people over here, giving you more specialists as well as ongoing abilities, or to build out your base. That's going to involve taking these various tokens off your base, revealing what's on the other side, getting that bonus, and also unlocking a new spot to place your workers into your base where they can't be contested by others. And that's basically, we have one other spot over here where you can get specialists without the cards, and that covers all the zones on the board. A whole bunch of ways you can get resources, some regular, some advanced, ways to build out your base, ways to gather specialists. It's all that worker placement aspect of the game. Now, if somebody else went to a spot, so let's pretend we have a blue worker over here. Let's pretend over here, sure. If I go there with my leader, I can still go there, but you pay a resource for every other worker already there. So it's not that you're ever locked out of something, but rather you do have to pay a little bit more to get in there, and your resources in this game are tight. So that is a cost you want to try to avoid paying if at all possible. You're going to do all that in order to basically be building out your base, which gives you more worker placement zones and those ongoing and those one-time benefits. You're going to be trying to to gather various workers. So for example, I have this worker over here, this dock worker, who when I gather that dock worker, I both added a token. I added one of these tokens to my bag, improving my bag. That's the bag building part of things. And additionally, I get an ability I can use once around, where I can treat these two workers as if they're each other. In other words, if I decide that I actually don't want to go to my base with this grunt over here, I can move him over there, rotate the card, tap it, or flip it upside down, and then get it back next round. So if you start building up a whole bunch of abilities, you are both building up the tableau of what you can do, what you can gather. This fisherman over here is going to be every time that you go to one of those dock locations, you get a bread. Again, limited once per round. That's true for all abilities. But they give you both resources, flexibility, all these different things, while also building out your bag and improving the way your workers go out, improving the strength of your leadership track, and all those things are, well, very important. The last thing to really cover, or last what we'll try to get to in general overview, will be these missions. These missions over here are things that you're going to be trying to turn in one thing at specific locations in order to get another. So for example, let's take one of the missions I have over here. This mission up here, when I go to this zone, that's going to be either of these two zones in the Kremlin, and I give in 2 bullets and 2 health, I can get 6 points, advance 1 on the leadership track over there, and then this mission will go over here to this base zone, which is important because this is another part of your tableau building. Because at the end of the round, you'll get benefits. So I'll get 2 health over here because I have 2 missions there. So as you accomplish missions, you're getting points, you're giving stuff up, but you're getting points, you're getting benefits, and you're also building that tableau building, because across the 6 rounds of the game, the more missions you finish and the earlier on you finish them, the more you'll be building up recurring benefits of either health, bullets, and oil or bread. That's basically everything going on in Resurgence. A few other small things, such as events showing up every round, endgame scoring that will be variable game to game, these mutants that every single round are shifting locations, giving you, oh, that no one goes there this time, we go over here, shifting locations, giving you different spots to be mindful of. Going up further on your base will unlock more tiers of what you can unlock in your base. They'll also unlock the possibility, once you hit base 3, that you can now accomplish advanced missions as well as score for the endgame. And I think that's basically enough of all the stuff going on in Resurgence. A whole lot of interlinking things, a whole lot of stuff that works together in ways that you have to be very mindful as you play this game. And before we get into the review, I usually cover game preferences and biases, things to be aware of as far as what I'm looking for, or just things that might affect my opinion of the game. And starting off with, I like worker placement as a genre. This has worker placement. I like tableau building. This has a whole bunch of tableau building, which we'll get into later in this review. And then in general, I don't even know if this counts as a preference or bias, but I have yet to play a game by Stan Kudranski that I have not enjoyed. I have not kept all of them, but I've enjoyed most of his games. I've enjoyed all of his games and kept in my collection most of his games. I don't know if that actually means anything, but we'll get into that shortly. So, starting off with art, theme, and narrative. The art for the game slowly has grown on me more and more. I always liked the character art. That was always fine. The general board, I started off finding a bit drab, but it has certainly grown on me as the game has gone on. It's going for a very particular style, very particular theme. I think it works well for that style and theme, but it's something that did grow on me. It works well. I'm not losing my mind either way over the art in this game. As far as theme and narrative, I mean, theme is basically survival-based. You're in a base, you're trying to survive, it's all harsh, it's brutal. I don't really care either way for or against the theme. This isn't the theme that does it for me, but nor does it push me away. It's fine. And then as far as narrative goes, there's no real narrative past the inherent story you're telling as you try to scrounge for bullets and health and accomplish a mission. And there's little things over here. We have this mission over here will be helping refugees, and so you'll get another mission and you'll give in a bunch of resources. So there's a little bit of crafting of a story as you play, but really just feeds into the theme of the game. As far as ease of play, this covers a whole variety of things that make this game easier to table or not. Starting with the fact that the rules are fairly easy to get through. I mean, it's not, 5 minutes of rules, but it's like 15-20 pages of very easy to read through rules. You can learn how to play this game in roughly half an hour or so. As far as teaching others, it'll probably take you around 15-20 minutes to teach others. While most of the things are fairly simple, there's enough nuances to how the structure plays out that you want to be very methodical as you get people up and running. Still, all things considered, standard, fairly easy to get people up and running. As far as game length, this will run you roughly 60 minutes to 2 hours, an hour to 2 hours, depending on player count. So it's fairly decent, mid-range length or whatnot. And then table space is very easy, setup and tear down, all those things are fairly easy. So overall, this is a fairly standard game to be able to jump into. As far as player count, this is a 1 to 4 player game. I don't know anything about the solo mode. To be very clear, I know nothing. I don't know how it plays, any of those things. I haven't seen any rules about it. I don't know anything about the solo mode for this game. I have played this game at 2 and 3 players. I have not played it at 4. 2 and 3 worked really well. 3 players added a drop more interaction to the game, which I think so far 3 was, I do prefer 3 players to 2 players, but 2 players was still a fairly tight engine. You have more mutants in the game to complement or make up for the other players, a little less interaction, but also a shorter playtime, so factor that in. As far as 4 players, I haven't played it at 4 players. I imagine 4 players would work fairly well, probably add 15-20 minutes to the experience, but I have not actually played it at 4 yet. As far as highlights for the game, the things I like, the things that stood out to me as why I would like this game, or why I do like this game. To begin with, there's multiple paths to victories. This is one of those games where you can take different options over here, and you'll really have a competitive game. You can have a player who's going heavy on those various experts over there, those various specialists, and trying to gather as many cards as possible and building out their abilities. And you might think that they're going to have a slam dunk win, but they won't necessarily. You can have someone else who goes heavy on missions or heavy on their base building. There's a variety of different ways, or heavy on trying to really compete for those tracks up there and get those bonuses, the leadership tracks. There's a variety of ways or paths you can pursue as you try to win this game, and they're all viable to a different degree. The hidden planning is incredibly tense. You're really sitting there with your screen all prepped to go in front of you as you draw things in the bag, as you try to think not just what you want, not just where you want to go, also the various abilities that will affect how you can mess with where you will go or won't go, all of that, but also what other players are doing, where they are on the track, where they're likely to be pushing. Can you get leadership bonuses? Because those leadership bonuses are huge. Taking a slightly less efficient placement turn, but getting a few leadership bonuses, that can be the difference in the game, and so you're trying to think out your opponent. This is something that'll be very reminiscent to Rurik. If you've played Rurik Dawn of Kiev from Stan Kodansky, it has that same planning phase of trying to think through what you're going to do and how your opponents are going to do it before you finally reveal everything and, well, try to see whether you actually got what you want. And the tableau building. The tableau building is a ton of fun. I'm someone who likes powers and abilities, and this game has those powers and abilities and the tableau building in the form of these various specialists, as well as in the form of the base, as well as in the form of the missions. There's a lot of stuff that cause your turns to be constantly increasing, that you can do more every single round. If you have a specialist this turn, you have 2 specialists next turn, and 3 next turn, that means you have more abilities cycling every single turn. If you accomplish a bunch of missions, you'll have more health, ammo, and food and oil coming into your base every round, and again, that's huge. If you build out your base, that buys you a ton of flexibility to not just constantly charge up the leadership track, but also to get safe placement zones in your base that no one else can get in your way. Various forms of mitigation, of bag cycling, of getting health, getting whatever it is you need. There's a ton of tableau building in this game across those 6 rounds, different ways that you can get more done every single turn in this game. As far as nitpicks, not really a ton, really just 2 things. First of all is character art on these tokens. These tokens over here, a bunch of different token options, and at a glance, they look a little similar. This is a game where you do want to be paying attention to what's going on others' boards. You do want to be looking and saying, well, you're going to the metro zone, but you don't have any specialists there, you just have grunts. So I'm actually pretty safe as far as saving my worker, my specialist there, and I'm going to go first with my grunt, because that's a spot we're competing over. This is a game where it's very important to know what others are doing, and being able to glance at their boards and see their tokens is a big deal, and every single time I've played this game for the first time with someone else, someone has made a mistake at some point. Oh, I didn't realize that was your leader, I totally missed it. You get it going in your head once you're already in that second play, but for every single person's first game, there's been at least one person who made that mistake time and time again. So this is something that, slight nitpicks, you get over pretty quickly, but worth addressing. Second nitpick is variability. Now, this is a game that I don't think needs a ton of variability going on, but the prime variability in the game is coming from the fact that you have different goals and different events every single game. So you have a different few endgame scoring, some events that come out across those 6 rounds, ways to earn extra points or block you, or things like that, but it's not a lot of variability to the experience. The reason this is a nitpick as opposed to a meaningful critique is this is a game that I don't think needs that variability. One thing I saw recently that I thought was particularly funny is someone posting on a Facebook group saying, if there's one thing I learned about board games, is that chess is not a very good game because it's not variable. which is cute. Also, I don't play chess, so perhaps true, but the idea of variability comes usually from either the way the game generates variable engines or from the player interaction and how that drives ever-escalating strategies. I think Resurgence falls into that latter category. The variability comes from the players and the interactions and the way they're going to continuously play and learn the game and get in each other's way and build up their engines. That said, it's still a nitpick because I do like variability in my games. As far as meaningful critiques, there's one thing really, and it is something worth addressing, which is AP. Analysis paralysis, overthinking your turns, having players at the table who think through the perfect way to get that perfect turn. You know that part that I talked about, that highlight of trying to get that perfect turn, of trying to plan out where your workers are going, how you're going to advance in leadership tracks, all those things? That comes from the fact that you're sitting there trying to min-max your turn. You're trying to think through every iteration of, well, if I go here, then I can go there, but you might go there, and then my backup plan is X, Y, and Z. There's a ton of that thought process going on in Resurgence, a ton of trying to figure out what to do it, how to do it, and at a certain point, you just have to let go. And if you don't have players who do that, if you have players in your group who take longer turns, Resurgence is a game where you will notice that they are taking longer turns, and that's something to be mindful of. Again, a problem that was very reminiscent of Rurik. Same exact problem, same exact issue. When you have that level of interaction, when you have that level of thinking through, which provides a meaty experience, it also adds to others' analysis paralysis, that overthinking and taking way too long on their turns. As far as final thoughts, Resurgence is fantastic. This is an excellent game. This game has done nothing to stop me from continuing to think that whenever Stan puts out a game, I will be paying attention. Along with Stefan Feld and Uwe Rosenberg and a variety of other game designers, he has cemented, Martin Wallace, I'm getting sidetracked. Stan has cemented himself as a designer who I am always paying attention to what he does. I have enjoyed everything he has put out in Resurgence, along with Rurik, along with Endless Winter. I think those would be my top 3 games that he has put out. Resurgence, Endless Winter, and Rurik Dawn of Kiev. They are all fantastic in totally different ways. They all provide different experiences, and I'm going to focus back on Resurgence rather than talking about other games. Resurgence is incredibly meaty. The engines at play, the ways they interweave, the amount of time you get done in this game. One thing that I tend to not like in games is when across, 4 rounds you're trying to do X number of things and you never feel like you get enough done. Resurgence to me is the perfect length. That engine building works and takes off, and when you hit the end of the 6th round, I would not want the game to go on for another round, and I would not want it to be a round less. It allows me to get just enough done that I feel like I built out, I feel like I interacted, I feel like I min-maxed across a variety of tracks, but I also still want to get just enough more done that I'm eager to dive back in a second time. This is a fantastic game, and if you like Stan's designs, or if you like Euros, or if you like worker placement, or if you like outthinking your opponent, or tableau building, or any of the things I've discussed, there's a lot here that will reward you. Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope this video was helpful, and as always, have a good one.